I had some other videos planned, but after doing a road trip in the Model Y, there were a few interesting things that I discovered and I want to share with you. Now the girls and I took the car to Assateague Island, which is still in Maryland, but it's about 2.5 hours away. The first thing I noticed about traveling a longer distance in the Model Y is how comfortable the seats are. The front seats are like sitting on pillows. If I had to describe it, I'd say the Model Y seats have a memory foam-like density paired with a soft down outer chamber. That's the best way I can describe it to you in a video. The second thing is the storage capacity. Not only can you fit a good amount of luggage in the under storage compartments of the trunk and still have usable trunk space on the top, but you can also put your carry-out food in the front trunk or frunk. You know, I actually prefer the European term bonnet because it resonates more. The storage area can be really useful because you get to ban all food odors to the outside of the car, which keeps the food from smelling up the interior cabin. Now, Autopilot is my new favorite feature. I use this feature quite a lot, and I will definitely be upgrading to the full self-driving package once I get my coins together. I'm going to run through some of the good things that I've noticed about Autopilot, and then we'll get into some of the more peculiar things that I've noticed. For starters, I noticed I wasn't fatigued from driving once we reached our destination. And again, this was a 2.5 hour trip with just a standard autopilot that comes with any Tesla vehicle you buy today. Your car is equipped to drive on its own as long as you stay within your lane with auto steer activated. And this is very easy to do on those long 2-lane country roads. But the minute you put your blinker on to switch lanes or make a turn or take control of the wheel, the self-driving feature cancels itself and it automatically switches to what's more commonly known as cruise control, where it accelerates on its own to keep the speed. Another fantastic thing about Autopilot is the ability to set and limit your maximum speed. Autopilot eliminated my fears of getting a speeding ticket because, for one, the speed limit is always displayed on the monitor for you. And two, because when Autopilot is engaged, you can preset your max speed, and you can also tell the car how many miles per hour over the speed limit you're willing to allow the car to go. This really gave me a lot of confidence in the event that I was going to get pulled over and asked the age-old question, "Do you know how fast you were going?" Yes, officer. I had my Autopilot speed limit set to 60, so I was going 60 miles per hour or less. Another fantastic thing about Autopilot is its usefulness in stop-and-go traffic. Man, it really takes a load off. Autopilot's lane departure avoidance feature is both a blessing and a curse. It's similar to the lane keeping feature you can find on other vehicles. I have mine set to assist, so if I start drifting out of my lane, the car literally puts me back in my lane. This feature is so useful and is always on in my car. It is especially helpful if you're driving tired, or you're not as focused. But sometimes, and this is the curse part that I was mentioning, when I forget to use my blinker and I go to switch lanes, I feel like I'm fighting with my car. And I'm sure it looks like that to other drivers as well. If you ever see a Tesla vehicle going like this, just know that that poor driver is trying to negotiate with their car. Autopilot has the potential to make anybody a good driver. And I don't know about you, but I am so good a driver, I'm bad. I honestly think I'd make a good NASCAR driver. From eating a bowl of cereal to putting on makeup, that's me, the distracted driver, trying to squeeze every second out of every minute. So it is just perfect for me and others out there that may be just like me. A few more things about Autopilot. The car does a very good job of driving itself and it handles curves very well. But as of the date of this video, there are a few things that could be improved. Now for the quirks. Autopilot relies heavily on road lines. It needs boundaries. When there are breaks in the lane road markings, the car will start to drift because it's trying to regain its boundaries and find the center of the lane again. So let's say you have a line over here and then the next line is the shoulder of the road. The car will attempt to put itself in the middle of those two lines. But once the camera sees the lane markings again, it'll straighten itself and put itself back in the center of the lane. So that's one of the reasons why it's really important to pay attention. The same can be said for driving through construction zones. Pay attention. I am always curious about the limitations of Autopilot, so I'm constantly testing the feature out, and I did so in a construction area. When those lane lines are unclear, shift, or merge together, you really need to watch yourself. I once drifted into a whole new lane after a break in the lane lines in a construction zone area. Autopilot does not navigate through traffic signals and traffic signs. You need to upgrade to full self-driving in order to have your car respond to traffic signals and signs. Now, I've also tested this out and it's true. I approached an intersection with a stop sign and Autopilot disengaged and told me to take control of the steering wheel. Now, I've also tested this out at a red light signal. But fortunately for me, there were cars already stopped at this red light that I was approaching. And that is important because Autopilot will avoid hitting another car like the plague. So if there is a car stopped in front of you, Autopilot will automatically apply the brakes. So there was a red light coming up in front of me. I'm a ways off, but I can see it. There were cars stopped at this light, brake lights everywhere. Again, I can see it. But it doesn't seem like my Tesla sees it. This car was still traveling at about 55 to 60 miles per hour. I was prepared to stop. My kids were terrified. At about 40, maybe 50 feet out, the Tesla finally applied the brakes and started to slow down. And it was sudden. I'm a little nutty, so once I saw I could get a rise out of the kids, I continued to test it out. Now on to the rest of the trip. Supercharging. To take your battery from empty to full, which may be about 20 miles left to drive to 300 miles, you'll be sitting at a supercharger for about an hour. And fortunately, the kids didn't mind. They kept themselves entertained with the car racing game and an app where they can make their own music, karaoke, YouTube videos, things like that. Tesla superchargers are located in convenient and safe locations where there's stores around, so it's best to plan your stops around food and bathroom breaks. The fifth thing I noticed during our road trip are that Teslas are so much fun. When I bought the car, I was given access to Tesla's premium connectivity package free for 1 year, which streams music, podcasts, comedy, you name it. This went a long way to ensuring the kids and I never got bored during the road trip. Someone always had their finger on the infotainment system. Camping out. I am cheap, 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 cheap. So instead of getting a hotel room for 6 hours of sleep at a premium of $300, we camped out in the Model Y. I need a mattress. Please let me know your Tesla mattress recommendations in the comment section down below. I am too old to be sleeping on the back side of my rear seats with just a blanket for cushion. Other than that, in camp mode, the cabin maintained the 72-degree temperature beautifully and used about 50 miles of battery range to get us through the night. Our dog, me, and my 10-year-old daughter slept in the back of the Model Y, and my oldest daughter decided there wasn't enough space for her back there and opted to sleep instead in a reclined position in the passenger seat. She didn't complain of a rough night's sleep. I was the only one complaining. Police were called. We went to the boardwalk to grab some dinner, and by the time we got back, someone staying in a nearby hotel motel called the police because they were concerned about our dog April, my hairy fourth daughter. The officer totally understood what dog mode was and the technology behind it that keeps the heat or AC running so the cabin is safe for your dog to stay while you run an errand. And he just looked relieved when he saw us walk up so that he could go on about his business. But the people that called him there in the first place, while they were walking away from our car, my daughter said she heard them say, "I still don't think it's right."